Hello, everybody. I'm Maury. Normally, I make comics, but towards the end of September, I ended up making a digital painting. I knew that Inktober was right around the corner, so I wanted to do something with color, where I guess color was kind of a focus, or large areas of color. And this was an image I had been wanting to make for about 2 or so weeks. And so I finally convinced myself, you know what, I'll try making this as a color piece that I can work on before Inktober hits and I don't have time to work in color as much as I want. And I started sketching it in my notebook because I had been planning to use my Copic markers. And I just couldn't sketch it. It just wasn't forming the way I wanted to handle shapes and work those shapes. Even in a sketch, just I couldn't picture it for some reason. And so I ended up going digitally because I thought maybe, I can move stuff around by sketching it digitally, and then I'll be able to maybe redraw it traditionally. But as I sketched it digitally and I moved it around and got everything in basically where I wanted it, I realized that what I had been thinking, or the thought process I had been using for trying to make it when I was sketching it traditionally, was a digital mentality of mushing things around, painting over everything, and being able to erase and add and subtract, and without having to worry about how thick things got, like the material thick, or just in general not being inhibited by physical things, physical mediums. And so I realized that this needed to be digitally painted. And I also was like, well, if I'm going to be doing this, it's something I don't normally do, but it'll be something that I can sit down for a long period of time. And so I live streamed it. And the live stream ended up being almost 5.5 hours. And I didn't feel like I had been sitting there that long. I had just been enjoying it. The live stream is up for people to watch it, and even towards the end, I'm pretty sure that I commented on, like, I didn't realize it'd been 5 hours. And it was good. Like, this is the first time I've digitally painted anything that I ended up liking it in the end. I think it's because at this point I found a program that works right for me for digitally painting, and that's Clip Studio's Paint. See, I tried digitally painting in Photoshop. I've seen a lot of artists on YouTube do it, and I watched so many tutorials on the mentality of it, and I tried, but in Photoshop I just couldn't get the control that I wanted. I don't know if that's because I'm using a non-name brand tablet. I'm using a monoprice tablet or what, but it wasn't working for me. And so I tried digitally painting in Manga Studios, which is the program that I use for making my comics. Manga Studios is great for making line art. Like, I've never been happier making line art than I am when I'm making it in Manga Studios. I just have such a strong control of the pen, but it doesn't have tools for painting. It's got maybe 2 brushes for doing painting, but it wasn't meant to do color things. It was meant to make comics, which, yes, some comics have color, they have soft gradients and things like that, but it wasn't meant for painting. I got a program called PaintStorm Studio, which was made to mimic the feel of traditional art more than common digital painting programs. And my few experiments with it were good, but it was limited in the sense that I like having a 2-monitor setup. And it's a 1-monitor only program. And by that I mean if I had both monitors active, it refused to function. I don't know if that's been fixed in recent updates, but that was basically a game killer for me. So I ended up looking for other things, and then Clip Studio Paint went on sale a while back, and it's technically the latest Manga Studio and Clip Paint merged together as one program, which is Clip Studio Paint. And so I got that, and I've been experimenting with it off and on. I know I have a few videos on here that use that, but that's literally just me experimenting with painting digitally because it's something I'd always wanted to try doing, but couldn't really because I didn't have the right program. And making this painting has basically solidified in my head that Clip Studio Paint is the program for me to use for painting, at least digitally. It has just sort of the control of the brush that Manga Studios has that is what I needed, but then it also has a wider variety of brushes that I like, as well as the way each brush handles. If you go into the watercolor section, it actually, when you paint over different areas, it acts like watercolors, the way the colors mix together. And the way the oil paint section works really feels like painting with oil paints, but in a digital way, and that's what I wanted. And so finally getting that, it just kind of all accumulated with my different experimentations that when I finally got to this piece, it clicked. I'm actually happy with the digital painting I made, and that's amazing to me. As well as I've been watching a lot of videos on, I guess you could call it the mentality of digital painting, which is different than doing anything traditionally, because digital in itself is its own medium. Inking digitally, just doing line work digitally, is totally different than doing traditional line work. It's just a totally different mentality, and it's taken me something like a year and a half to get comfortable with digital painting, which is longer than I hoped it would take, but I'm glad I took that time because I was able to make this piece. As well as making this piece has inspired me to do more digital paintings, and even more so because I'm a comicer first and foremost. I want to make a comic with these characters. I feel like it wouldn't be right if the whole thing wasn't these paintings like this, which would be totally over the top type of time consuming project that I'd take on, and maybe someday I will, because I really just love this whole concept in this painting of everyday life, but your pet's a dragon. And it's just, I love the whole urban fantasy thing, where it's normal day life, but there's just these fantasy elements just kind of trickled in here and there. Like what kind of pets people have, or magic used in incredibly mundane ways. Or even just making domestic life feel special. That kind of thing is always just kind of called out to me, even more so in recent times. We're actually at this point into the part that I took it after the live stream and I was reworking things. I realized that the shadow was wrong. As you saw, I repainted the shadow multiple times, as well as the shape of the sheets just was not natural, and so I had to fix that too. As well as I realized that the balance of color felt a little bit off, where I had the green in the plants, but that particular green was nowhere else in the painting, and so I moved it into some of the shadows on the lower right hand side and stuff, so it wasn't just on that left hand side, and taking the focal point away from the girl and her dragon. I did want the dragon to be a little of a quiet thing, which is why it's, the same white as the bed. I didn't want it to be the focus because of that whole concept of domestic life, urban fantasy, of it being a part of normality, not something fantastical, even though it is. It's getting to the end of the video, so before it ends, I want to say a few things. One is that I have been engaging in Inktober over on Instagram at Mori_makes_stuff. And so if you want to see what my traditional inking work looks like, you can go over there. But also I wanted to explain why I've gone on a hiatus with my comics this month. I think I posted, 2 or 3 things, but I didn't, fully post anything. And the reason for that is I got kittens, and my house wasn't ready for kittens. So my whole family has been doing a major overhaul of the house, room by room by room. So until we're done, I'm not going to be posting much as I catch up with things in the house. I will slowly be posting again. But the kittens, I'm sorry, come before the internet. In the comment section, let me know if you want to see more things like this, whether that's digital paintings, digital art experiments of mine, or just these characters or this kind of aesthetic from me. And of course, like and subscribe for more Mori. Later, lovelies.